I never thought moving to Thailand would make me question everything I knew about friendship and myself. Part 1: New Faces, Spicy Food, and Unexpected Laughter. When I first stepped out of the dusty bus at the military base in Thailand, my stomach twisted in a mix of excitement and nerves. The sun was blazing, hotter than any summer I'd ever known, and the uniform felt heavier under the heat. My name is Alex. I'm a US soldier, freshly transferred here, trying to find my place in a world that feels both familiar and completely strange. I dragged my duffel bag across the gravel, dodging a group of guys in camo uniforms. They waved, some grinned, others just stared. I smiled back, hoping it looked confident. Inside, my chest pounded. I had no idea who I could trust yet, and I hated feeling this small in a place I was supposed to call work. After a few minutes of walking aimlessly, trying to find the barracks, I noticed a small street vendor outside the base gates. The colors of the fruits and spices made my eyes widen. I paused, inhaling the aroma. That's when I saw him. Niran. He was leaning casually against the stall, laughing at something the vendor said. His hair fell loosely over his forehead, eyes sparkling with amusement. The kind of smile that makes you forget your own worries for a second. He looked up, noticed me staring, and smirked. You look lost, he said in English, with a faint Thai accent. I swallowed. Yeah, first day here. My voice came out shakier than I intended. He chuckled. I can tell. You carry your nerves like a backpack. I laughed, embarrassed, but it felt good to laugh. His energy was contagious, like sunlight sneaking through clouds. Niran introduced himself properly, pointing at the strange-looking food around him. Want to try? I hesitated. Some of the items looked intimidating. I picked a small red chili, thinking it might be mild. One bite and my mouth erupted in flames. Tears streamed down my cheeks, and I coughed so hard I nearly dropped the chili. Niran laughed so hard he doubled over. You're supposed to eat it slowly. I gasped, hands flying to my mouth. I thought it was just a tiny one. You Americans always underestimate spice, he teased, still laughing. The laughter broke the tension in me. For the first time that day, I felt like I could breathe. We talked about the market, the town, the base. He asked about my work and made jokes about my uniform. Somehow, within an hour, I felt like I had known him longer than I should. But then, just as I was starting to relax, my phone buzzed. A message from one of my new colleagues popped up: watch out for locals too close to soldiers. I frowned, feeling a pang of caution. Was he really as friendly as he seemed? Or was there some hidden agenda I couldn't see? I looked at Niran again. He was smiling, but his eyes held something I couldn't read. A little curiosity. A little mischief. Either way, I decided to ignore the warning. Life was too short to worry too much on the first day. Over the next few days, Niran became my guide. He showed me the best food stalls, explained how to take local buses, and even helped me pick out proper Thai clothes for the heat. Every time I thought I understood him, he would throw in a joke that made me stop and laugh, shaking my head in disbelief. One evening, after a long day of base drills, I found myself sitting with Niran by a small canal. The sun was setting, painting the sky pink and gold. We ate sticky rice from a local vendor and watched kids play near the water. You seem different from everyone else here, I said, finally daring to ask. He shrugged, poking at his food. Different can be fun. Or dangerous. Depends on who notices. I stared at him, trying to read the layers behind his casual tone. Something about him made me feel like the world had more possibilities than I thought. But I couldn't shake a tiny feeling of doubt. The warning message, the strange glances from some soldiers, the way he sometimes looked away when I talked, there was a tension beneath the fun. That night, lying in my bunk, I replayed the day over and over. The chili, his laugh, the sunset. And I realized, maybe moving here wasn't just about work. Maybe it was about meeting someone who could shake up my world in ways I hadn't expected. Little did I know, that first laugh at the market was the beginning of a story full of twists, misunderstandings, and moments that would challenge both of us. But for now, it was just the start. And somehow, even with all the nerves and caution, I felt a spark of excitement. Tomorrow, I promised myself, I would see him again. And maybe, just maybe, things would get a little more complicated. Part 2, Misunderstandings and Growing Closeness. I never expected a tiny misunderstanding to make me question everything about trust and friendship. The next morning, I woke up feeling both nervous and excited. Yesterday with Niran had been a whirlwind of laughs, spicy food, and new experiences. But there was also that little seed of doubt I couldn't shake. Soldiers had warned me, and my instincts whispered caution. Still, I wanted to see him again. I made my way out of the barracks, the sun already high, baking the dusty paths. My uniform felt heavy again, but my steps felt lighter. Maybe it was the thought of Niran waiting somewhere, maybe it was just the excitement of a new day. I found him near the same market stall, chatting with a vendor and pointing at a small motorcycle. He noticed me immediately, his grin widening. "Morning, sleepyhead. Ready for some real Thai adventure today?" I laughed. "Depends. Will it include fire again?" He nudged me with his elbow. "Only if you want it. You survived yesterday, right?" We spent the morning walking through the narrow streets of the town outside the base. Niran showed me a tiny coffee shop tucked between buildings and taught me how to order in Thai. I fumbled with my pronunciation, spilling some coffee on my shirt. He laughed and grabbed a napkin, his fingers brushing mine briefly. I felt a small jolt of warmth and immediately looked away. We moved on to a local park, watching children run through fountains. The simplicity of it made me feel peaceful, but then my phone buzzed again. It was a message from one of the soldiers on base. "Hey, did you see Niran talking to that guy yesterday? Be careful." My stomach twisted. My mind raced, imagining things I shouldn't. Who was that guy? Was Niran hiding something from me? I watched him closely. He waved at a man carrying tools and walked over, talking animatedly. My first instinct was jealousy. But then I reminded myself to breathe. Maybe it was nothing. Still, I couldn't ignore the flutter in my chest, the nervous energy that made my palms sweat. I followed him, keeping a careful distance. The man handed Niran a small toolbox, and they started fixing a broken bicycle. My heart sank a little. I had assumed the worst, that maybe Niran had someone else in his life. I took a deep breath, feeling foolish. Of course, it made sense. Helping someone fix a bike didn't mean anything romantic. But the doubt had already planted its roots. I decided to approach him, walking faster until I was beside him. Niran looked up and smiled. "Hey, Alex. Want to help?" I forced a smile. "Sure." We worked together, adjusting the chain and tightening screws. Every time our hands brushed, I felt that warm spark again, the mix of excitement and anxiety I couldn't control. By the time the bike was fixed, my earlier tension had eased slightly. We took a break at a small cafe nearby. Niran ordered mango sticky rice for us both, and I watched him eat with quiet fascination. There was something natural about him, a sense of ease I envied. I wanted to be like that, confident in a place so different from home. "So, about yesterday," I began, trying to sound casual. "Who was that guy?" Niran laughed softly. "Oh, that's just my neighbor. His bike broke down, and I promised to help. Nothing more." I felt a wave of relief. My chest unclenched, and I let out a shaky laugh. I think I imagined the worst. "Maybe," he teased, "but it's cute that you care so much." I felt my face heat up. Cute? That word made my heart beat faster than it should. I tried to hide it, sipping my coffee slowly, focusing on the sweetness of the mango. As the day went on, we wandered through a small market, tasting food, trying strange snacks, and laughing at my repeated failures to pronounce Thai words correctly. With each laugh, each joke, each playful shove, I felt a little closer to him. I realized that the misunderstanding had brought us together in a strange way. I was learning to trust him, even if my mind still raced with doubts sometimes. Later, as the sun began to set, we sat on a small bridge overlooking a canal. The water reflected the orange sky, and the town seemed peaceful. Niran nudged me with his shoulder. "You know, Alex, you don't have to worry about me. I like hanging out with you. That's all." I smiled, letting the words sink in. "I know. I just overthink sometimes." He laughed softly. "You Americans and your big brains. Relax a little. Life is simpler than you think." I felt a sense of calm I hadn't felt in months. Despite the misunderstandings, the nervousness, the new environment, I realized that being with him felt right. The spark of excitement I felt on the first day had grown into something warmer, something that made me look forward to tomorrow. Walking back to the base, I felt a strange mix of happiness and anticipation. There was still so much I didn't know about him, about this place, about myself. But for now, it was enough to laugh, to share meals, to enjoy the sunshine, and to feel the quiet thrill of connection. And deep down, I knew that tomorrow would bring new surprises, new challenges, and maybe even more moments that would make my heart race. But somehow, I was ready for them. Because with Niran by my side, even small misunderstandings turned into lessons, laughter, and memories I didn't want to forget. Part 3: Pressure, Friendship, and Unexpected Support. I never imagined that a simple day at the base could make me feel both proud and completely lost at the same time. The morning sun hit the base harder than usual. I felt my uniform stick to my skin, and the weight of my backpack seemed heavier than yesterday. Drill day had arrived. My commander had assigned me to a long series of exercises, testing endurance and discipline. My stomach twisted in anticipation, not from excitement, but from nerves. I tried to remind myself that I had trained for this. Yet, every step through the gravel paths felt slower than it should. Sweat ran down my back as I watched other soldiers move with ease. My confidence wavered, and for the first time since arriving in Thailand, I doubted myself. Niran had promised to meet me after the drills. The thought of seeing him was a small spark in my anxious morning. It was enough to make me push through some of the exhaustion. But even with that, my mind kept wandering. What if I failed? What if I made a mistake that disappointed everyone, including him? The drills began. Push-ups, runs, obstacle courses. My muscles screamed, but I kept going. I caught glimpses of Niran in my mind, his smile, his teasing words, the way he made even the spiciest food feel fun. Somehow, that thought was enough to keep me moving. Halfway through, a fellow soldier nudged me. "You care too much about that local guide, huh?" I froze, unsure how to respond. The words stung more than I expected. It wasn't just about Niran. It was about me feeling exposed in a place where everyone expected toughness. I clenched my jaw and pushed myself harder. I didn't want anyone to see me falter. After what felt like an eternity, the exercises ended. My chest heaved, and my arms shook from exhaustion. I was proud I had finished, but the pride was mixed with doubt. I glanced at the path leading to the town, hoping Niran was waiting. And he was. Niran leaned against a wall near a small cafe, a bag of snacks in his hand. He waved, and I felt my chest relax in an instant. "I thought you might need some fuel," he said with a grin. I walked over slowly, my legs still trembling. "You brought food?" "Of course. Sticky rice, mango, and a surprise." He handed me a small wrapped bundle. I unwrapped it to find a strange-looking dessert I had never seen before. "Trust me," he said. "It tastes better than it looks." I laughed and took a bite. Sweetness exploded on my tongue, and for the first time today, I felt a genuine smile. "Okay, this is actually amazing." We sat together, sharing snacks and watching the town bustle. The warm sunlight reflected in his eyes, and I felt a sense of comfort that I hadn't realized I needed. For a moment, all my doubts seemed to fade. But the peace didn't last long. As we walked back toward the canal, I noticed a group of soldiers whispering and glancing our way. One of them called out jokingly, but there was an edge to it. My stomach twisted again. Was I really reading too much into it, or was there some tension growing between my world and his? Niran noticed my hesitation and nudged me gently. "Ignore them. We're fine." I wanted to believe him, but the knot in my chest didn't loosen. I realized that being with him was more complicated than I expected. Cultural differences, base rules, and gossip could all add pressure to something that should feel simple. Later that afternoon, we ended up at the canal again. The water sparkled under the sun, and a few children were splashing around. Niran sat on the edge, swinging his feet, and I joined him. The calmness of the moment was a balm to my restless mind. "I felt terrible today," I admitted quietly. "The drills, the comments. I don't know if I'm cut out for this." He looked at me, his eyes soft but steady. "Alex, you're stronger than you think. And it's okay to struggle. You don't have to prove everything to everyone. Just be yourself." His words hit me more deeply than I expected. I realized that for the first time in weeks, someone saw me, not just as a soldier, but as me. Not the uniform, not the rules, just Alex. We spent the evening sharing stories about our childhoods, our favorite foods, and small dreams. Each word brought us closer. I laughed more than I had in months, and the earlier tension melted away with every shared joke. On the way back to the base, Niran grabbed my hand briefly as we crossed a busy street. The touch was light, casual, but my heart jumped. My mind wanted to overthink, but my instincts told me to simply enjoy the moment. That night, I lay in my bunk, replaying the day. Pride, exhaustion, laughter, anxiety, all tangled together. I understood now that being close to someone didn't mean life would be easy. It meant sharing victories and doubts, facing challenges together, and learning to trust. And I knew that no matter what tomorrow brought, whether more drills, misunderstandings, or small moments of joy, I wanted Niran by my side. Because for the first time since arriving in Thailand, I felt that being myself was enough. And that was the most powerful feeling I had ever experienced. Part 4, Surprises, Twists, and a New Beginning. I never thought one message could turn my whole world upside down. The day started quietly. I was sitting on my bunk, trying to review my notes for a briefing, but my mind kept wandering. Niran had promised to meet me after morning drills, and I felt a strange mix of excitement and nerves. Things had been good between us, laughter and small adventures, but I knew that tomorrow might bring something new. My phone buzzed suddenly. A message from Niran. I opened it quickly. "Can't meet today. Something came up. Sorry." My chest sank. Something came up. What could it be? I stared at the words for a long moment. Did he change his mind? Was he avoiding me? My mind raced through possibilities. I decided not to overthink. Maybe it was work, or family, or a small emergency. I shoved the phone in my pocket and tried to focus on drills. But the usual energy felt heavier. Every step seemed longer, every instruction harder to follow. After the exercises, I wandered outside the base, hoping for a glimpse of him. The streets were alive with people and colors, but my eyes searched only for one face. Then I saw him. Not where I expected. He was helping set up a small festival in the town square. Families were hanging lanterns, children running around, and Niran was carrying decorations with a careful smile. I felt a mix of relief and admiration. He had taken time to contribute to the community. My earlier worries seemed silly now, but the sight of him made my chest tighten in a good way. I approached him slowly. "Hey, need a hand?" He looked up, surprised and happy. "Alex. I didn't expect you." "Sure, come help." We worked together, hanging lanterns and arranging flowers. It was light work, but it gave us time to talk, laugh, and joke about small things. I realized that even though I had worried earlier, he had a life outside of me. And that was okay. As the sun began to set, the festival lights flickered on. The town square glowed with orange and pink lanterns. Families gathered, and children played nearby. Niran turned to me, eyes bright. "I'm glad you're here," he said softly. I felt my heart swell. I wouldn't miss it. We spent the evening enjoying the festival. Music, food, and laughter surrounded us. For the first time, I felt completely comfortable, like I truly belonged in this strange, colorful world. But then, a small drama appeared. One of the soldiers from the base wandered into the square. He looked surprised to see me with Niran and raised an eyebrow. "Alex, didn't expect you to hang out with locals this much," he said with a teasing tone. I felt a flicker of tension. My chest tightened. Would this become another misunderstanding? Niran noticed my discomfort and squeezed my hand lightly. "Ignore him. Let's enjoy the night." I took a deep breath and nodded. The warmth from Niran calmed me. I realized that no matter what others thought, our friendship and connection mattered more than outside opinions. As the festival ended, Niran led me to a quiet spot near the canal. The water reflected the lanterns, creating a mirror of colors that made the world feel magical. "I have something to tell you," he said, looking nervous but smiling. "I might have to leave for a short time. A work project in another city. But I want you to wait for me." My chest tightened. Leave? Now? I felt a pang of fear. But I also saw the hope in his eyes. "Of course. I'll wait," I said, trying to sound braver than I felt. He smiled and leaned closer. "Promise me we'll keep laughing, no matter the distance." I nodded. "Promise." The days that followed were a mix of anticipation and small adventures. We found ways to spend time together before he left. Walks through markets, shared snacks, and quiet moments by the canal. Every laugh, every glance, every small touch reinforced the bond we had built. Finally, the day came. Niran had to leave for his work project. I walked him to the edge of the town, carrying a small gift I had bought, a handmade bracelet from the market, bright colors and simple design. "For you," I said, handing it over. He took it and smiled, slipping it onto his wrist. "Thank you. I'll think of you every time I see this." We hugged briefly, careful but warm. My chest felt tight, but the knowledge that this wasn't goodbye forever brought a sense of peace. Days turned into weeks. I kept myself busy at the base, but my thoughts often wandered to him. Then, one evening, a message arrived. "Alex, you won't believe what just happened here. Can't wait to tell you in person." I laughed, a mixture of relief and excitement. That spark of connection, the bond we had formed, was still alive, no matter the distance. When Niran finally returned, we met at the same market where it all began. His smile greeted me before his words. "Missed you," he said simply. I smiled back. "Missed you too." And in that moment, I realized that life, even in a strange place far from home, could be filled with laughter, surprises, and a connection that made every challenge worthwhile. We walked together through the streets, enjoying food, music, and the simple joy of being with someone who understood you. The twists, the misunderstandings, the small dramas, they all felt like steps in a story that was finally ours. And I knew, no matter what came next, we would face it together, with laughter, trust, and a lot of mango sticky rice. Part 5, The Big Twist and Heartwarming Closure. I never expected one small decision to change everything between us. It started as a normal morning. I was up early, stretching and packing my gear, thinking about Niran. He had returned from his short work trip, and today we planned to explore the town together. But there was a strange tension in the air. I couldn't tell if it was excitement or nerves. As I walked to the meeting spot near the market, I saw him waving. His smile was the same, but his eyes held a seriousness I hadn't seen before. "Alex, can we talk?" he asked softly. My heart skipped. "Sure. What's up?" He led me to a quiet corner near a small cafe. "I have something to tell you," he began. "During my trip, I was offered an opportunity to work on a bigger project in Bangkok. It's a big step for me, and I'm not sure when I'll be back." I blinked. My chest tightened. "So, you might leave again?" He nodded. "Yes. But I don't want this to end between us. I want you to know that you matter to me." A mix of relief and fear hit me at the same time. I realized that my feelings for him were stronger than I expected. I wanted him in my life, no matter the distance. "I want us to keep this," I said firmly, trying to sound braver than I felt. "No matter where we are." He smiled, a little relieved. "Good. That's what I wanted to hear." We spent the rest of the morning wandering the town, sharing jokes, and tasting new food. Even with the looming possibility of separation, every laugh felt more meaningful. I realized that moments with him were worth more than any fear. Then came the twist. As we walked past a small street art festival, I noticed a familiar figure from the base watching us. One of the soldiers who had teased me before stepped forward. My heart sank. Was he going to cause trouble? But instead of confrontation, he held up his phone and showed us a short video. It was footage from the base's social media page, highlighting local engagement and teamwork. And right in the middle, Niran appeared helping organize a community event. "You two are, kind of a great team," the soldier said, smiling genuinely. "I didn't realize how much good you were doing together." I felt my chest relax. Niran squeezed my hand lightly, and we both laughed. The tension evaporated. What I had feared as judgment or gossip turned into recognition. We had proven that our connection was positive, meaningful, and accepted. As evening fell, Niran and I found ourselves on the canal bridge again. Lanterns reflected in the water, and children played nearby. The colors and laughter created a perfect, peaceful moment. "I guess life isn't so complicated when we face it together," I said quietly. He nodded. "Exactly. We just need to trust ourselves and each other." I looked at him, realizing that every misunderstanding, every small drama, every nervous thought had brought us here. Stronger, closer, and ready for whatever the future might hold. We ended the day sharing mango sticky rice under the lanterns, laughing at my failed attempts to speak Thai, and teasing each other like we always did. The city lights reflected in the water, and for the first time, I felt completely at peace. I realized that adventure wasn't just about new places or spicy food, it was about connection, trust, and laughter. Niran had changed my world, and I had no intention of letting go. No matter the twists, the misunderstandings, or the distances, we had something worth holding on to. And in that moment, I knew that our story was only just beginning.